Hey everyone, Matthias here, and welcome back to the channel. It's time to talk a little bit more tabletop role-playing game goodness today. And today's topic is, well, it's a little crunchy. It's something that maybe some people find a little bit bland, but I find incredibly important in creating an immersive, realistic, lived-in world for your next campaign of Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Castles and Crusades, Symbaroum, you name it. Namely, economics in D&D or tabletop role-playing games in general. So we've all been there that a party has come to town and they want to go shopping. They've got money, they, found it in a ruin or a dragon hoard or wherever, and they're like, we want to spend it. TTRPG shopping is some of the best shopping, in my opinion. So they wander around town going, oh, where's the magic shop? We need to go to the blacksmith. We need to get new weapons. We need to get new gear. Can I get a bag of holding here? And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're in a village of like 90 people. So it's in the player's handbook. Can't we get it here? There's scarcity. You can't get everything anywhere. Why? Why is that I can't get something here? And this is really, sometimes some GMs just hand wave this and said you can get anything in any town, more or less. Maybe not magic items everywhere, but anything that's in a player's handbook, you can get it pretty much every village store. Well, that's not realistic. And to me, even though I am, kind of an old school simulationist D&D person, that just doesn't feel right. It just feels like, okay, it's generic, it's boring, and there's nothing real in this world. It's not lived in. It's not how anything really functions. I mean, I live in a small mountain town in Colorado. If we go to a local store, maybe I can get an iPhone at the local Verizon store. I can get one. They have one for me to pick from. Not 10, not 20. If I'd go to Denver or Colorado Springs, where there are a lot of stores and you pretty much can find everything. No, there is scarcity. And I believe scarcity is something that's really important to creating an economic system within your world that makes the players, first of all, feel a little bit smaller. They can't just get whatever they want whenever they want it. And it makes it real. They are invested in the world. They understand that there is an economic system they have to abide by. And maybe they have to be patient for once. So how do different games simulate economics at the tabletop these days? Well, if we look at 5th edition D&D, it doesn't. There's no guideline, whether in the DMG, Player's Handbook. There's no real information there as far as how you should adjust things as a GM. What should you do? What's available where? There's really nothing there. In Pathfinder 2nd edition, there's a little bit. If you go to the Game Mastery Guide, which is a book that I really enjoy, this good thing right here, there they talk about economics and settlements. In fact, in Pathfinder 2nd edition, every settlement has a level. And they talk about that depending on the level of the settlement, that dictates maybe what kind of magic items are there, what kind of high-end rare items are found there, what kind of NPCs are found there, that the levels kind of match. It's a rough guideline, but it's not an exact guideline. You can build a system off of that. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that. I'm going to go back to kind of the predecessor for 5th edition, I guess 4th edition, and Pathfinder, 2nd edition, going to Pathfinder 1st edition's inspiration, which is 3.5 D&D. You go to the DMG there, and there they clearly show, when you create a settlement, one, how many people live there, what are the different sizes of the settlements, and then the max gold piece value of any item that you can find there. So there's a little bit of scarcity there. But in my opinion, it's not enough. That's a good framework. That's a good point of reference to start with. But there's just not enough detail there to really build something from. If I look at a game that I truly love and I run regularly, Symbaroum, they go a little bit deeper. They have the settlement type, and the max value item. So, you can maybe find at most something worth a taller in this soul village. And then they show how many of that item is available. So, say you want to buy whey bread, it's a taller. Well, they only have 10 whey bread in the entire village that you can stock up on, and that's it. You can buy 10 and you're good. I mean, whey bread lasts a week, but still, you get the kind of idea that we're going for here. But that's a lot more than what D&D 3.5 gave, a little bit more. It's more than Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and way more than 5e, which gives absolutely no guidelines whatsoever. So now I'm going to take it one step further and go to one of my all-time favorite games, in my opinion, the best way to play modern Dungeons & Dragons, and that's with Troll Lord Games, Castles and Crusades. If you get the Castle Keeper's Guide, this wonderful book right here, which has a ton of amazing information in it, there's a big section in there on world building, specifically settlements and economics. And there they dive deeply exactly how it should be done. They give tiers to areas or kingdoms or realms, from tier 1 to tier 5. And I'm going to walk you a little bit through these tiers. So tier 1 is very, very basic. You can find simple weapons, light armor, wooden shields, adventuring gear, maybe 5 gold pieces or less, and mounts at 30 gold pieces or less. So you're not going to get an amazing warhorse in these smaller realms. If you then go to the second tier, you get a little bit more. You actually get some trade networks built up. You have simple weapons, light to medium armor and helms, adventuring gear up to 10 gold pieces, and mounts costing 75 gold pieces, so your basic riding horse can be found here. Then you go to level, or tier 3, not level 3. Tier 3, this is your pretty well-established settlement or kingdom, where what you will find here are exotic materials, even in weapons, up to 100 gold pieces, medium to heavy armor, steel helms, adventuring gear up to 100 gold pieces, 200 gold pieces worth of mounts, and superior items up to 100 gold pieces or less. Tier 4, we're talking major cities now at this point. Metropolises. Think City of Greyhawk. Here you can find pretty much everything. Everything you can find in your player's handbook is found in these type of settlements. Now they also add a 5th tier, and this is the kind where you can get any type of magic item or anything like that. In a high fantasy, high magic world like Forgotten Realms, this is Waterdeep, essentially. Now, I don't play in those types of worlds, so that really doesn't exist. If I look at Greyhawk as an example, you can take a look at Tier 4 as the City of Greyhawk. You pretty much get everything there. And then from there, you go down. So how do you set this up? If the City of Greyhawk, that has a certain sphere of influence, let's put it that way, a domain of the City of Greyhawk, it is Tier 4, the city itself. That is the maximum. Everything else below that is maybe Tier 3, Tier 2, or Tier 1. Probably not Tier 1 within the domain of the City of Greyhawk. But if you then go to the Banded Kingdoms, where things are way less centralized, say that's a Tier 2 realm. So that means the biggest settlement, the most advanced settlement there, is Tier 2. So everything within Tier 2 is found there, but everything else is at most Tier 1, or if there's even a settlement at all. If you then go maybe to a kingdom like Furiundi, or around the village of Hamlet, Burbabonk, or places like that, maybe that's a Tier 3 at realm level. So for me, that means basically they have trade networks that go across the Flaneus in Greyhawk, but it's their capital city is representative of this highest tier. Everything else below that is Tier 2 or Tier 1. And what you create then is natural scarcity. I would also say now, again, this isn't really something you find much in 5th edition, even though they do have, I guess, hirelings to a degree, even though I think 5th edition does a lot of things very poorly when it comes to building good worlds for the dungeon master to use. But if we look at 3.5 or Pathfinder, or of course Castles and Crusades, there you have exact lists of hirelings and the cost of henchmen and the cost of adherents and blacksmiths and stuff like that. You can now use this tier system to dictate what's even available in a settlement when your players go there. You already know, well, okay, if the highest value good found in this settlement is 5 gold pieces, well, then odds are we're not going to find a tanner who, if you give him a job, it's going to cost 10 gold pieces. They're just not really there. They have some craftsmen, they have some basic services, but if you want leather armor crafted, they're not going to do it. You need to go somewhere else for that. And this automatically creates certain limitations and creates a realistic world for your players to live in. So using this system helps you as a GM in basically giving yourself limitations, which gives limitations to your players, and then they honestly have a better time because, well, they can't always get what they want. The other thing you can't discount in economics in a game like D&D is, well, what if you are in a tier 1 or tier 2 settlement where there is scarcity and the adventuring party shows up and they've got 5,000 gold pieces, or they've brought in a whole bunch of artifacts or weapons and they want to sell them. Well, you can use the tier system as well to indicate wealth. How much money is even in the town? How much would they be able to pay out at all, ever? Would they even be able to afford to buy a +1 longsword? Those are worth pretty penny. Or a warhorse. We found an extra warhorse. We want to sell it. Yeah, we don't have that kind of cash. You're going to have to take it to the next settlement that's bigger. And what this also then does, it drives players to move their characters around your world, to actively seek out, okay, we're in this little village. Well, now we need to sell some of our stuff, but they don't have the money to give us what we need. So now we need to find a city where we can turn our loot into cash. Here's one example of a 5th edition campaign that ended for me at the beginning of the year. The party had slain a dragon. They decided, you know what? We want to skin the dragon and sell dragon hide. Well, they slay the dragon outside of a village. And they said, okay, here we go. Let's establish a value. I went through, oh gosh, I don't remember, the DMG, Xanathar, some old school stuff. And I said, okay, it's probably worth X. Let's call it 1,000 gold pieces. Well, this village doesn't have the money to do it. So, they can't even get it tanned. They can't do anything here. They just have this. So they had to bring it to the next city to get it worked on and to turn it into cash for themselves. This creates scarcity and drives your campaign forward, which, and again, I'm not a linear storyline type of GM. I like emergent sandbox play where the players, the adventurers, the characters drive the story forward. And this is one way to drive it forward. They have to go to the next big city. They have to go to Greyhawk if they want to do what they want to do. And there you have a lot of new adventures waiting for them. So that's another key aspect as to why I think economics and having a good economic system makes sense and is very important for your D&D, Pathfinder, CNC, whatever campaign you're running. Well, I hope you found this short little video on economics and D&D helpful. If you want to find out more, I'm going to write a more detailed guide about how to do this and publish it over on Patreon. There's a link down there to the Patreon. Feel free to pop on by. There are multiple tiers there, and one of them unlocks all the content that I am writing exclusively for Patreon, but also release other places as well. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Think about subscribing to not miss out on any great content here on the channel, be it Dungeons and Dragons related, or Castles and Crusades, or Crusader Kings 3 related. So until next time, I am Matthias, and I will talk to you soon.